You know, I'm convinced that Satan loves when men keep secrets, and in today's video, I'm going to share with you 3 secrets that men commonly keep that will crush you. Now, why do I think that Satan loves secrets so much? Well, secrets keep things in the dark. It keeps you in isolation, it keeps you separated, often keeps you far from God. When you're keeping secrets, you're often trying to keep secrets from God, even though we know that's not possible. But it's this suppressing, isolating, keeping things in the dark that Satan loves. He loves when we do this. Because then when we're in the real world, we're forced to play a part. We're forced to pretend that we're something we're not. We're forced to play the hypocrite or pretend that everything is fine. Meanwhile, we're suppressing these things. We're hiding these things that are eating us up from the inside. The third secret I'm going to share with you is actually the most surprising to me. I haven't heard other people talk about this really in the Christian community, but it's really hindering men. But let me begin with this. The first secret is secret sin. Now, I think about it like this, okay? One day, your wife asks you, hey, can we get a kitty cat? Like, I've seen them on Instagram. They're so cute. I just want a little kitty cat that I can hold. And you're like, okay, so you see this ad on Facebook Marketplace and you go out and you find this cat on this farm and you bring him home and he's so cute and he's so soft. And your wife is like, oh man, this is so awesome. Let's name him, Poodles or something. And then you're like, Poodles, that's a terrible name. But anyway, you have this cat and you're like, oh, this is so sweet. A couple of years later, and all of a sudden this cat is growing big and big and big. And you're like, is this Clifford the big red dog or what's going on here? And you begin to pick out little things and do research online. You're like, what kind of cat really is this? And you're like, this is something that seems a little bit questionable to me. And you realize this is a panther. This is like a legit panther. You're like, how did the people at the farm get this panther? They're raising panthers. And how do you even get a panther? And eventually it becomes really dangerous. You're like, I got to do something about this. I got to get this out of my home. And your wife's formed this attachment to it. No, that's Poodles. We can't get rid of him. One day he's at the foot of your bed and he's like, I'm going to eat you. And that's how it evolves, right? It begins with this little cat that you think so cute, and you invite into your home, you invite into your life, and you form this attachment to it. And you're like, it's fine, it's cute actually. It's this form of escape almost, but it grows and it grows and it builds and it builds. And this is what happens, guys, especially with people in leadership as well. If you have any kind of form of leadership, really, you feel like, no, it's okay. I can have this little pet sin. And often for guys, it's lust, right? It's some form of lust or greed or pride or something that you're just holding on to. And you're like, this is my escape. I deserve this. I'm doing everything else right. It's not that big a deal. I can handle it. I'm spiritually mature enough to, and it's actually helping me. It's helping me in my role. And so what happens? This sin, it grows and it grows and it grows and it grows. And what do we hear about? We hear about church scandals of people committing adultery. We hear about, just abuse happening. We hear about these little things that seem like, okay, wait a minute, it's not, I can handle this within my own life. And then it creeps out and it creeps out and it creeps out and it grows bigger and you can't handle it. And it crushes you. It eats you alive. I can't remember who said it, but it's a quote that says, be killing sin or it will be killing you. In my experience, if you let it grow too much, you feel like, wow, I can't even admit this anymore because, my reputation will be ruined or people will think less of me, or you justify it. You say, it's just this one little thing. I'm doing everything else right. But what does it do? It sears your conscience because you're not actually addressing it and you're living in this lifestyle. The second thing is when that guilt and that shame is there, it's causing you to feel like, okay, I can't really share about my life or my Christian walk. And it basically gives you a limp. It gives you a limp in your Christian walk because you're so paranoid about somebody finding out or people just knowing your struggles. So you're not willing to speak up for Jesus. It hinders your witness. It makes you a decapitated soldier on the battlefield. This is one of the most convicting verses that you'll read on this. And it's from Proverbs 28:13. And it says this, whoever conceals his transgressions will not prosper, but he who confesses and forsakes them will obtain mercy. Jesus lived, died, and rose again that you could have freedom, that the shackles of sin and shame would be broken for you, that you could live in freedom, that you could say, actually, I'm not as cool and as awesome and as mature and as holy as maybe I've posed myself to be. I need to confess this. I need to open up. I need to stop hiding this secret. And maybe that, hits my reputation. Maybe that hits me in a place that hurts because I hold myself so high. But it's important and it's necessary because at the end of the day, I just want to be right with God. I don't want to be living a lie anymore. I don't want to be a hypocrite. Quick message before we jump back into the video. If you are struggling with secret sin, namely pornography, namely lust online, I want to offer you basically a 30-day free trial of Covenant Eyes. It's a program, an accountability program that will help you. It will send a monthly report to somebody in your life, somebody that can help keep you accountable. This is 30 days free, and it's affiliate link. You can sign up down below. It would be, I think it's going to help you. I really do. Plenty of men and women have broken free from pornography addiction and just that habit by getting on this. So I'd encourage you, hey, try it out. Okay, now back to the video. The second secret is secret wounds. Secret wounds. I want you to think about when you were a younger kid. Maybe you got into climbing trees. I think a lot of us enjoyed climbing trees. And you're climbing up and there's just one tree, in your park, neighborhood, whatever, that you're like, man, I just want to get the highest you possibly can. And so you try a couple days in a row, you're trying to get higher and higher and higher. And eventually you look down and you're like, wow, I'm higher than I ever have been before. But just as you're like mesmerized by your own work here, your foot slips and you're sliding down this tree. You try to grab on for all your might, but the bark is scraping at your arm. As you land to the ground, you twist your ankle, you're feeling like, oh my goodness, what just happened? I fell off this massive tree. But you look at your arm and it's all scraped up, it's all bloody, and you're embarrassed. Your mom said, don't climb too high, you're going to get hurt. You don't admit that you actually got hurt, so what are you going to do? Well, you find an old t-shirt, an old rag in the garage, and you wrap it up. You try to hide it and conceal it into your room, and the next few days you make sure to wear long sleeve only. What are you trying to do? You're trying to hide the wound. You don't want to open it up to the light. But what happens? You don't understand this as a kid, but that thing starts to stink. It starts to rot. It starts to get infected. And in a really dramatic and intense scenario, maybe that arm needs to be decapitated. You need to take it off because the infection has grown so deep. Here's the deal. I think in culture in general, men are taught not to acknowledge their wounds because they're so common, because they're so prevalent, because men are supposed to be strong and they're supposed to, really be men's men and not feel and not address those things because it hurts and it's painful. And I think men in general, we buy into that because I don't want to deal with that pain. I don't want to open up that wound. I don't want to take that dirty rag off from the garage because I don't know what's going to be under there. But here's the thing. We all have wounds, father wounds, childhood wounds, mother wounds, like things that you've experienced in your life, whether that's neglect or just a lack of love that you've received or expectations to the wazoo that you were never able to measure up to, that left you feeling lacking and just insignificant and insufficient in so many ways. We all have these wounds, right? And they can tear us up, really. They can. I think a lot of people, they cope with them by denying that they're, even real or even that they feel anything. Some people, they try to just detach from them and just not think about them, but in so doing, they become numb to the pain that they're experiencing. All these things are a way of, bypassing the pain. Some people will say, well, I'm just such a good Christian that, I put my faith in God and I'm fine. I can deal with it. One man, he was actually a Buddhist. He engaged in the Buddhism within the community. A lot of Buddhists were experiencing pain, and yet they were doing this thing where they were like, no, I'm spiritual, I'm virtuous, so I don't feel the pain. And what he called this was spiritual bypassing, a way to bypass the pain with a cover of virtuousness and piousness, that I'm such a good, religious person. In this case, I'm such a good Christian that I don't really need to acknowledge my wounds. Satan loves that. Because what does it do? When that feeling, when that wound becomes so deep and it rots, right? And it becomes so numb and it becomes so lifeless, what happens? It gets chopped off. And what happens then? A part of you has drifted away. A part of you, it can be recovered, but a part of you has become so numb that it's lifeless. And I think that's what Satan wants to do. He wants us to make us, in effect, less whole. He wants us to cut off parts of ourselves because they're so painful, because we don't want to deal with them, because we don't want to heal, because we don't know how to heal. It's also hindering our impact to other people and how we can love them because we haven't dealt with this stuff. So here's the deal, guys. I want to just recommend straight up, if there are wounds that in your life, as you're thinking about right now, you have not worked through, you have not sat down with somebody like a counselor or a pastor or a therapist where you're opening up about this stuff, I'd encourage you to do it. I'd encourage you to do it. I don't care if you feel like, oh, it's not that significant, or, other people had it worse. These wounds that go untreated will eventually, this pain, this infection will eventually come out somehow. Psalm 147 verse 3 says, he heals the brokenhearted and he binds up their wounds. The last secret that Satan loves that we're keeping is actually the most interesting to me. This is the thing that I've been thinking about most recently, and it's secret dreams. Secret dreams. Now, I think we all have dreams. We all have things that we're aspiring to, or visions for the future, or how we want our life to go, or projects we want to start, missions that we want to complete. But here's the deal. When we suppress our dreams or don't enact them in the way that God has laid out, we're actually hindering our growth, and those dreams become things that hurt us rather than help us. The first cycle is the laziness cycle, the one that we can get caught up to if we're just slothful and not really intentional about doing what we commit to do and doing what we set out to do and fulfilling our mission. We dream, because we all have dreams, but we wait. And you hear this all the time. I hear guys coming to me all the time. Oh, one day I'm going to make a YouTube channel. Or one day I'm going to start, really focusing on devotions with my family. Or one day, we're going to start this ministry. Or one day, and there's a lot of dreaming, but there's a lot of waiting. And you wait, and you wait. And what ends up happening with a lot of these guys, and I've been there, it's like you wait, and then you look at those who are doing it. You look at those who have thriving family devotions, and you're like, oh man, like what are they doing? Or you look at people with the ministries that you wished you started, or the platforms that you wanted to take about, or people that have got really serious with their marriage, and now you're jealous. Why? Well, you just waited, and you never enacted anything. Because why? Because we have this tendency to be lazy, because maybe we let our insecurities of whether I can actually do it, they take hold of us, and that fear consumes us. The next cycle in regard to our dreams is the cycle of pride. We dream, we have big dreams, we have big visions of what we want to do and what we want to accomplish. And we dream, and then we try. We actually try, but then we fail. And we fail bad. And how do we feel about that? Well, we feel self-pity. Oh, woe is me. Oh my goodness, my life is the most hard. The world is against me. That's why I failed. Man, I just suck. I'm a loser. We get in this cycle of just like self-deprecation and maybe anger at the world. And we get bitter. Bitterness just fills us, right? Bitterness. Oh man, life is just unfair. Why do they get it? Jealousy comes in again. Why do they get their dream fulfilled and I don't? And maybe we dream again, and we try again, and we fail again. What do we feel? Self-pity, anger, bitterness. It's a cycle of pride, because it's pride within us. We feel like, I deserve to be successful. I deserve for my dream to come true. I tried it. Why didn't it work? And we think the world's against us. We think God's against us, and we continue that cycle. Now, like I said, Satan loves when we have secret dreams that we never enact, dreams that we wait and we never do anything, and then we get jealous at other people. But he also loves when we enact those dreams, that we take that first step, but then we get angry at God when things don't come true, because he's still getting us in that, Satan's still getting us in that trap. We dream, okay? We dream big time, because I think God calls us to plan and have a vision, but at the same time, we can plan what we want to happen, but God is the one who actually enacts it. God is the one who is sovereign. God is the one who plants our feet. So we keep that in mind. We pray. We ask God, is this the direction that you want to take me? Is this the direction that I should be going? We ask, we discern, we talk with other wise members of our community. And then we act on it. We act. If it's the right thing, if it's the thing that, okay, this makes sense for me to do. This is the YouTube channel that I should start. This is the project that I should start. This is a new job that I should take. This is my dream. I'm going to enact. Win or lose, you give God glory. God, you are amazing. God, you are sufficient. God, I trust in you, regardless of if my dream came true or it didn't. You weren't obligated to make everything that I wanted happen, but I'm thankful either way. Just to summarize here, secret sin seeks to keep us in shame. Secret wounds seek to keep us broken. And secret dreams seek to keep us in the cycle of pride and self-pity. Jesus, on the other hand, wants us to confess and to forgive us. He wants us to heal, and he wants us to take the leap in faith and not in fear. Thank you everyone for watching this video. I hope you got something from it. If you did, I'd encourage you to subscribe, because I'm putting out new videos all the time, and support my mission on Patreon. That would be a huge blessing. Until next time, keep pursuing the mission.